Live well, be healthy, be great. It's your man, Howard Tyree, and I am thepeoplescoach.com. But more importantly, we are the Seeds Harvest Foundation, LLC. All right, let's talk about it. The Seeds Harvest Foundation, LLC, it's about unity. Uh, that's our biggest message to the world is that the African proverb goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Our secret power is unity, us working together, our ability to work together to create something bigger than we ever could achieve as an individual. Unity, unity, unity. Our motto is all we need is us. If you and I were able to figure out a way to work together and stay together, nothing is more powerful than that. If we could just figure out how to work together and stay together, there's nothing more powerful. So we can't have a conversation about unity without having the conversation about relationships. Relationships. Because we could talk about empowerment of the community, empowerment of our people, empowerment of people in general. But the essence of that is relationships. Relationships. So what is the number one killer of relationships? You guessed it. No, it's not money. No, it's not. Uh, no, it's not trust issues. No, it's not outgrowing each other. No, it's. Are those on the list of top 10? Absolutely. But what is number one? You guessed it. Communication. Communication. Communication is number one on that list. But let's talk about the entire list. Number one, lack of communication. Number two, lack of trust. Number three, expecting perfection. Number four, not aligned in what you want. Number five, lack of compatibility. Number six, different priorities. Number seven, a rut becomes permanent. Number eight, arguing all the time. Number nine, outgrowing one another. And number 10, it's too much work. Now, sure, there's all types of lists out there if you Google top 10 reasons for a relationship fails. But the one thing about communication, what I like about this list, communication is actually number one, is because number 2 through 10 all can be identified quickly or rectified through effective communication. Because communication is tied to everything that we do. Outside of self, even within self. Communication is a very important part of every aspect of life. Every aspect of life. Communication is a very important part of that. So, I like this list. And looking at the top 10 reasons for a relationship fails, I can do a video on each one of these. So, stay tuned. But let's talk about communication. Now, for my communicators out there, I want you to consider this idea. There's a big difference between communication and talking. So even if I do a read and I say communication is very important to you because you're a communicator, communication is very important to you. However, comma, pause, just because you talk all the time doesn't make you an effective communicator. And oftentimes we get those two things confused. Effective communication versus talking. Two very different things. All right? So my question to you is, are you an effective and healthy communicator? Or are you a talker? How do you distinguish the difference between the two in your life when you answer this question for yourself? No one else is around, just you. When you ask yourself, am I a talker or am I a communicator? Here's how you can tell which one you are. If you have rules, then you are a communicator. Let me say, if you have rules that you actually stick to and abide by, you are a communicator. If you have no rules during this exchange, then you're a talker. See, talkers just talk. That's not effective communication, and it's not healthy communication. Healthy communication has rules. Healthy communication can be taught. And oftentimes, that's the challenge that we have in our community. That's the biggest challenge I had. I wasn't taught how to effectively communicate. Actually, I had the other experience of that. My original introduction to communication, and a lot of us had this experience, was the worst example of what communication could have been. Because, unfortunately, our parents weren't the best communicators. And their parents weren't the best communicators. And their parents, and your great-grandparents, and your great-great. Somewhere along that line, the communication got lost. And so we got these bad habits being passed down from generation to generation to generation to us. Now we have this legacy of toxic, destructive communication. And that was buried so deep inside of us that when we was young, and I'm going to speak for myself, when I was young, I couldn't wait to be grown so I can cuss. Oh man, I couldn't wait to just cuss and just go off on somebody, because that's what communication looked like to me growing up. Cussing and going off on somebody. It's just cussing somebody out. That's what communication was. That's how you say what's on your mind and talk about your feelings. That's what I remember. And a lot of us have those memories. Is it the most healthy way to communicate a message? Absolutely not. All right, so with that being said, are you a communicator or are you a talker? If you have rules that you actually stick by and abide to, you're a communicator. You're one of us. If you don't have any rules and you say anything and there's no strategy involved with the words that's coming out your mouth, you're a talker. And you're probably toxic, a toxic talker. All right. Next point. I said I'm gonna start numbering these points, so let me number this real quick. I said I'm gonna go ahead and correct the behavior now, so I can remember to. So number 1 point: communication versus talking. All right. Ice cold water. Get you some. Woo! All right, so point number 2. No rules means you just talking. All right. Point number 3. This is something that will help you out, right? And I remember having conversations like this with people over the years, and it threw people off. They couldn't get it, and I get it. I'm different. I may be misunderstood the rest of my life. I don't care. All right. So, but this would throw people off, especially the alpha, powerful women that I had conversations with, came across, that generally don't have respect for the men that they deal with, or are generally stronger than the men that they deal with. When they come across someone like me, I challenge them and I say, look, if we're going to be able to communicate, then let's keep it at a level of professionalism. So it seems as if you're acting, if you don't understand this idea of respect. When I say respect, right? I get it. Just talk to me like you talk to your supervisor, and I'll do the same, and we won't have no problems. And so I usually get some type of response of, who you think you are? You not know. See, that's the problem right there. Respect. So in order for there to be healthy communication, there has to be respect coming from both sides, right? So my next point number 3, treat your relationships like a business. Treat it like a business. If you can change your mind and look at a relationship as a job and as a business, and you treat it like you're going to work, everything else makes sense. Because we know how to be effective communicators at work. We know how to be professional. We know how to be tactful. We know how to communicate points. We'll do all of that at work. And then come home and do something completely different. Why is that? Treat your relationships like work. It should feel like work. It should feel like a job, because I'm here to tell you, relationships are work. Relationships probably going to be the most intense job you're ever going to have. And some people don't want to be in a relationship for that reason, because it's work. And it's so much easier to be by yourself and not have to work with someone else. Easy. It may be lonely, long term. But it's easy right now. It's easy. Especially while you're young. And you're young enough to just go on a vacation and by yourself, and it's no big deal. Or you're young enough to buy the house you always wanted, and the house still excites you. And buy the cars you always wanted, the car still excites you. Your bank account still excites you. All of that stuff is great, while we're young and while we're able to enjoy it and have fun. However, once we get older, all of that stuff gets old. And I remember working in nursing, and I remember conversations that I had with older people when I used to work in nursing homes. And I always will have these interesting conversations with older people, and you can tell the ones that never had children or never married. It was at the end of their life. It was something. It was lonely. It was lonely, and it was kind of hard to see. No one's ever there to visit. There's no grandchildren, no great grandchildren. All of their cousins and brothers and stuff have died, and it's just so my whole point is, it's easy to not do the work now, but there's a long-term consequence to not doing the work. All right? So if done correctly, relationships can be beautiful. It's going to be a lot of work, but they can be beautiful if you have the tools to make it work. All right, so treat relationships as if they were businesses. Communicate with other people as if you're communicating with your coworker or your supervisor. Communicate that way. All right? These are things that help me out personally. All right, so I'm sharing them with you. You got something better? Matter of fact, let me ask you this. Is what you're doing right now working for you in your relationship, your situationship, even at work, with your children? Communication. It's how you are communicating right now. Is that working out for you? If it's not working out for you, then I want to challenge you to consider something different. All right, now let's get to a few rules. I'm going to shorten this up. I'm going to try to knock this out in about 4 more minutes, all right? Rules. You need rules in order for there to be healthy communication. So let's talk about some rules. Rules for communication. Active listening is a must. Again, let me start numbering this stuff. Let me correct my behavior now. Let's start numbering things. So right now I have 10 rules. 10 rules to communication that's going to improve any relationship with anybody. 10 rules. Rule number 1. Active listening is a must. Active listening. Active listening is listening with your entire body. Active listening is being 100% present inside of the conversation. All right, let's break down active listening by going to point number 2 or to rule number 2. One person at a time. Absolutely no interrupting. One person at a time. When we interrupt other people, it communicates or conveys a message that what they have to say is not important at all. It's not important. So, number 2, one person speak at a time. Never, ever, ever cut someone off. Number 3, let's use our inside voice. Again, that's tied to that respect. So if we maintain that mutual respect, communication can go much further and can be more impactful, more powerful. Number 4, no name calling. No name calling, no belittling. Number 4, again, respect coming from both ways can get you greater results. All right, let's keep it healthy. Let's keep it respectful. No name calling. Rules of engagement. There's certain words that we want to avoid. All right, certain words that we want to avoid. And some of those words are never, always, and every time. So these are all-inclusive words that leaves no room for no other result. For example, you never tell me you love me. Those are literally fighting words, right? So when you say to someone, you never tell me you love me. Never? Because that person you just said that to only need to think about one example. Even if it was one example in 10 years. They only need one example to discredit your statement. Now the fight is on. They have a valid reason. I do say I love you. I might only say it one time in the last 2 years, but I did say it that one time. But you said to them, you never say it. So when we use all-inclusive words like that, 99.9% of the time, those are going to be inaccurate statements that start a fight. You never do this, or you always do that, or every time this happens. You know, we only need one example to discredit that statement, and now it's a fight. So these are words that add fuel to the fire and can destroy the momentum of a relationship or communication or conversation and take the conversation completely left very quickly. So let's leave those words out of the conversation. Never, always, every time, those all inclusive words like that. Number 6, take notes. Take notes. Take notes. Take notes. Me, I'm always taking notes. If you know me and we're having a conversation about anything, especially if it's important, right? I'm going to be taking notes. And if it's just a regular conversation and then it gets serious and I'm in a position like, let's say I'm driving and or something, I'm not in a situation where I can take notes. I'm very uncomfortable when I'm having an important conversation. I'm not able to take notes. I always have notebooks around me. I'm always writing, all inclusive words, but I write a lot. I'm taking notes a lot. You know, it's just it's a part of who I am. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of how I learn. You know, things that's important to me, I write them down. All right, I take notes because I'm in the business, and two, I'm in the business of communication. I'm in the business of communication, and in my business as a life coach, I don't use my words. You know, so as a effective life coach, you have to be very strong in communication because we deal with all types of people, right? So we have to be able to, through communication, reach all types of people where they are and help them get to where they want to be. And that can be challenging. So communication is something that a life coach has to be extremely strong inside of community to be a great life coach, and I consider myself to be a great life coach. You know, so communication, and I can also consider myself to be a master communicator. All right. So take notes, take notes, take notes. Number 8, repeat what is said before you speak. Repeat what is said before you speak, and then make sure that the other person agree with what you heard. So it kind of sounds like this. All right, so I just want to repeat what you said. Did you say that you love me, but you just need us to spend more quality time together? Because that's what I heard. Is that what you said? And then that'll give the other person an opportunity to say, no, that's not what I said, or I may have said it, but I didn't mean it that way. Or they could say, yes, that's what I said. And it makes them feel good that you actually heard what they said, right? And we can start breaking down these walls of miscommunication and get to the essence of the situation so that we can create change, right? We can get to that piece called understanding, right? Very essential part of the communication process. All right, so that's number 8. Number 9, video record the conversations. We got all these smartphones everywhere. Pull it out. Because here's what video recording the conversation does. It creates instant accountability. When the camera's rolling, people sit up different. People put their A game on. So a lot of the BS that you was dealing with in the conversation before, instantly, a lot of that foolishness, misdirection, and if you're dealing with a narcissist or someone like just the communication games, the mind games, a lot of that stuff immediately goes out the window once you start recording. You know what? Let's record this. I just want to be able to watch this later. I want to be able to take notes. Let's just record this. it will change it. It will change things. All right. So that's 8, 9. Number 10. Resolve the challenge. I'm a firm believer that if we can create a problem today, then we can create a solution today as well. That's if that's important to us. And to me, the solution should be far more important than the problem. So let's identify the problem and then spend all of our energy into creating a solution. Because the problem is not the most important thing no more. Once we identify it, let's put our energy into creating a solution. All right, I'm results based, I'm solution based. That's how I live my life. So what I'm saying to you is, number 10, resolve the challenge today. If you have a problem today, fix it today. No matter what that looks like, fix the problem today. Because if you keep on continuing, you got this problem from last week, and then you got another problem from week before last, another problem from week before last. You got all of this unfinished business, and you just keep on moving forward, but you're not taking care of your business. So you got all of these problems that you just keep piling up, but we're not creating solutions for them. At some point, that snowball is going to catch up with us. And it's going to show up in a massive avalanche that's coming down the hill, that's ready to destroy everything once it catch up with you, and once it catches up with the relationship. All right? Number 10, resolve the challenge the same day. And 10B, do not go to sleep angry at each other. Fix it the same day and go to sleep feeling refreshed, renewed, and not carrying baggage and problems into your future. Problem today, solution today. Go to sleep happy. If you try these 10 rules to communication, something different is going to change in your life. All right. So that's some free jewels, some free information. I know that you all will see value in this, especially if you actually apply some of these principles and rules to your communication styles and to your relationships, because these rules will enhance any relationship. All right. So, or you can get with someone like myself one-on-one, and we can create something more specific, and we can deal with things more head-on inside of your relationship, whether that's a couple or whether that's a one-on-one session you want to have with the people's coach. All right? So, but with that being said, communication is the number one reason for failed relationships, and I just gave you some great advice and some great solutions, some great options, some great rules of engagement in terms of communication and how we can come around that, and we can break these generational curses, and we can break this cycle of destructive and negative communication that's been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and then we ended up with all these bad habits. All right? So, with that being said, live well, be healthy, be great. It's your man, Howard Tyree, and I am thepeoplescoach.com, but more importantly, we are the Seeds Harvest Foundation, LLC. All right? Peace.